Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Welcome, Maverick family. Glad everybody is here. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about freedom cities. We don't have a lot of details. This is a concept at this point, but it's coming from Donald Trump. He mentioned it last night at CPAC when he delivered the closing address in a speech that I thought overall was inspirational. And that's what I like about all of this, what I'm about to talk about tonight with you. It's positive, it's uplifting, it's inspirational. We're going to talk about other things tonight too. There are quite a few different things in the news. I do want to highlight what lawyer Kareem Assad accomplished with Pierre Poilievre. She kept going back to these conservative events and getting kicked out over and over again. But persistence paid off. We'll show you what I'm talking about very shortly. So yeah, we'll definitely get into that. I'm also going to touch again on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. mulling over a run at the presidency. He says he is considering seeking the nomination from the Democrats, even though Biden seems to be indicating that he will be taking another run in 2024 at the presidency. I don't think he has it in him myself. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. positioning himself to be a challenger to Biden. And I think that might be a positive thing too. So yeah, lots of different stuff to talk about. What other things do I have lined up? A lot about this Freedom City concept. There are a bunch of things with regard to that I think are just extremely, extremely positive. It's sort of a throwback or a nod to the past while also looking ahead to the future. And I applaud it. I think it's going to be a good thing if it comes to fruition, if he's elected again. There are other issues, to be sure, but on that point, I think we're looking at a visionary. And he's taking something that's very negative, turning it upside down and turning it into something positive in several different ways. We're going to get into that when we come back, but we'll take a brief break first of all, so I can get some of this material queued up for you so we can discuss this. And then when we go to the phone-in portion of the show, you guys can weigh in and share your thoughts on Donald Trump's idea for freedom cities.
Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Okay, I'm back. So last night, if you joined us, you got to watch Donald Trump at CPAC, Conservative Convention. And, not surprisingly, he's still the overwhelming favorite to be the Republican nominee heading into the 2024 presidential election. They conducted their usual straw poll, and they asked 2,000 people who they would support as the Republican nominee. And Trump was the overwhelming favorite. I believe it was 62% for Trump. And DeSantis was a distant second. I think he had 62%. I have to remember. I had the numbers last night. I'm pretty sure he had 62% of the overall respondents supporting him. And then they asked about his approval. How many people, like what percentage of people approved of his performance as president? 95% of respondents said they approved of President Trump's performance while he was in the White House. That's an extremely high approval rating. So he is absolutely still the guy to beat. And as I said last night, I know a lot of people would like to see a Trump-DeSantis ticket in 2024. Hard to say if we would get that. DeSantis, I like DeSantis a lot. I think he's very, 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 very sharp. And I don't think it's going to be the cakewalk for Trump that some people think it might be, even to get the nomination. He's carrying baggage now, not like it was when he was first elected, not when he was first seeking the nomination. Back then, in the beginning, he came down that escalator and said, "I'm not a politician." Well, he is now. And after one term and now a couple of years of Biden interrupting what he hopes will be a return to office, he has a lot of political history there to defend. And the vaccines and Operation Warp Speed, those in his mind are big assets, but I know that for many, it's a liability. So he'll have to answer for that. But last night, I have to say, I found his speech inspirational at CPAC. His reference to this concept of freedom cities, I think he's on target, man. And it's just the uplifting kind of message that I need right now. There is so much negativity out there. There's so much political polarization. And on both sides, there's so much doom and gloom and pessimism, darkness, fear, all the way around. And there's Donald Trump with this concept for freedom cities. What a great contrast to this 15-minute city concept coming from the globalists. This, in many respects, is a throwback to the 1960s, the 1950s, the idea of including a baby bonus, trying to make homes affordable for young people. and making these cities futuristic. And it's a pro-growth, pro-American, pro-human, pro-people concept. He announced this last Friday prior to CPAC. I think we'll start first with the video that Trump released explaining what these 15-minute cities are. And then we'll go to his speech last night from CPAC, where he talks about it a little bit more. But here's the Trump video explaining that this is what he released last Friday, explaining his idea for 10 freedom cities.
Past generations of Americans pursued big dreams and daring projects that once seemed absolutely impossible. They pushed across an unsettled continent and built new cities in the wild frontier. They transformed American life with the interstate highway system. Magnificent it was. And they launched a vast network of satellites into orbit all around the earth. But today, our country has lost its boldness. Under my leadership, we will get it back in a very big way. If you look at just 3 years ago, what we were doing was unthinkable. How good it was, how great it was for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard of living. That's what will happen. Here are just a few of the ways we can do it. Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream. Another big opportunity is in transportation. Dozens of major companies in the United States and China are racing to develop vertical takeoff and landing vehicles for families and individuals. Just as the United States led the automotive revolution in the last century, I want to ensure that America, not China, leads this revolution in air mobility. These breakthroughs can transform commerce, bring a giant infusion of wealth into rural America, and connect families and our country in new ways. Likewise, through our Strategic National Manufacturing Initiative, which is going to be very big and very, very successful, we will turn forgotten communities into hives of industry, producing the goods we will no longer import from China. We will also have a major initiative on lowering the cost of living with a special focus on lowering the cost of a new car and lowering the cost to build a single-family home. And they will be beautiful homes. And I will ask Congress to support baby bonuses for young parents to help launch a new baby boom. Finally, I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states to join me in a great modernization and beautification campaign, getting rid of ugly buildings, refurbishing our parks and our public spaces, making cities and towns more livable, ensuring a pristine environment, and building towering monuments to our true American heroes. Very importantly, I will also make sure all of these new places are safe. We love and cherish our police. They will do the job the way they have to. It is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. I will dramatically increase living standards and build a future that brings our country together through excitement, opportunity, and success. Thank you very much.
And that is a positive, pro-growth, pro-human message. You know, you look back in history at different countries, including Canada and the US, There were times until just recently when everything was about growth. It was about families. It was about having kids, settling down, making a life, raising a family. That's really what Trump is talking about here. He's talking about getting back to those sorts of basics, right? We, you know, in Canada and the US are actually facing a situation where we don't have enough population growth to sustain the country. That is why government has turned to immigration. But with immigration, it changes demographics, as you know, changes the politics, it changes a lot, changes the fabric of the country. And Trump is saying, you know, we're not about depopulation. We're not about, you know, controlled decline. He's pro-growth. He's pro-family. He's pro-human. I love that. That's what I want for the future. That's what I want for my kids. I want that for your kids and your grandkids. I want that for our country, for everyone living here. I want a positive, pro-growth, pro-human, pro-family future, full of freedom. Elon Musk has said that population collapse is actually the biggest threat facing humanity. And I can absolutely see that. While many of the elites, if you want to call them that, the globalists, see things differently. They see humanity as a parasite, a blight upon the earth, contamination, where our very existence is a tax on Mother Nature, where just by breathing out carbon dioxide, we are creating climate change. By eating and surviving, we're a threat to the future of the planet. I don't share that view. I believe in people. I believe in humanity. I believe in a brighter future. I believe we can make things better. I believe that we have it in us, as we always have, to solve the problems facing not just humanity, but the planet as well. That we can solve these problems. We've always done that. We've embraced those challenges. Donald Trump is speaking my language. And it isn't just a message that is big government, pro-government, government control. He's actually, again, speaking my language in this case because he is talking about using incentives instead of penalties or punishment in order to achieve goals. The baby bonus, child family tax credit. It's pro-family. You know, it's like give families a helping hand up. A hand up, not a handout. Create new opportunities for young people. Create bright new cities on bright shining cities on the hill all over the country. He's talking about 10 of them. Freedom cities, not 15-minute cities, freedom cities. A great response to the concerns about 15-minute cities and a great response to the globalists who want managed decline, you to have less. He's really talking about giving you more. new opportunities, new homes, the ability to pay for them, to affordable homes in new locations. Beautiful new freedom cities. And he's not turning to the corporations of the world initially to come up with the plans for these. He's talking about a contest open to the public. He's letting the people forge their own destiny. Pretty positive, very positive stuff. Think about that. Visionary. He's quite right when he equates that to the construction of interstate highways. When he's, you look back at the Industrial Revolution, the way that it changed America, Canada, the world. This is about reaching for the stars, folks. This is about the sky being just the beginning, not the limit. Let's go to CPAC last night, where Trump spoke of this again and again, very inspirational to me. And it almost slipped by me, honestly, because it wasn't even, the highlight of the whole evening. It was about 3/4 of the way through the speech. And yet I think this was, in many respects, the most positive, uplifting thing he said all night. Let's listen.
And they sent in mechanics to fix them. And when the mechanics left, they were far worse. And they lose those cases
come up in
in
just a
courts
moment.
because our judges have no courage to do what's right. They have no courage to do what's right. I can tell you that was the case in 2022, where we can't get rid of drop boxes. We need them in every church. What we have to do, we have to put our own drop boxes in. Zuckerbucks spent $500 million. And, if you contribute $5,700, $1 more than that, to a candidate, they put you in jail. This guy gave $500 million for all of this crap that they were doing, shenanigans. They were handing out the money like it was candy, and that's fine. But if when people are going to jail for spending like $93 too much, because it's not according to election law, and it's ballot harvesting, we will become masters at ballot harvesting. We have no choice.
It's coming up.
Beating the Democrats at their own game.
Strategy to win the next election.
And we'll do it legally. The agenda I've laid out today will end America's destruction. But it is not enough just to stop the forces tearing America down. I want once again to build America up. We have to build our country. We don't build anymore. All we do is investigate everybody. You ever see television? It used to be we'd build our military. We were proud of it. We'd be doing all things. All you see on the thing, investigation, investigation, investigation. Now, with that being said, you got to look at Hunter. I mean, how crooked is that deal? But, it's not something I really.
But he's right. You got to build it up.
I'd like to get back to building our country and making our country great again. But it's time to start talking about greatness for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard of living, especially for our young people. As I announced yesterday, we will hold a competition to build new freedom cities on the frontier to give countless Americans a new shot at home ownership and the American dream. It's such a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states, to join me in a great beautification campaign. We will rename our schools and boulevards, not after communists, but after great American patriots. We will get rid of bad and ugly buildings and return to the magnificent classical style of Western civilization. We will support baby boomers, and we will support baby bonuses for a new baby boom. How does that sound? That sounds pretty. I want a baby boom. Oh, you men are so lucky out there. You're so lucky. You are so lucky, men. Our country will shine, thrive, and prosper like never before. All of this is within our reach, but only if we have the courage to complete the job, gut the deep state, reclaim our democracy, and banish the tyrants and Marxists into political exile forever. They are bad for us. They want us to fail. They want our country to go down. They are sick people. Change only happens if we plow fearlessly ahead and declare with one voice that the era of woke and weaponized government is over. That is our task. That is our mission. And this is the turning point and the time for that decision. Because as you've probably heard me say before, we will not back down. We will not bend. We will not quit. We will not yield. We will press forward with push. We will press forward with vigor. We will push onward, and we will finish what we started. We started a great, great positive revolution. Nobody's ever seen anything like it before. It's called Make America Great Again. We want to make America great again. We will cross the finish line. We will dismantle the deep state. We will demolish woke tyranny, and we will restore the American Republic to all of its radiant glory. And with God's help and your support, we will make America powerful again. We want to have a powerful country. We need to have a powerful country. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. That's what we want. We want strength. We will make America, think of your heart pounding. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again, not like our streets of the cities, which are a disgrace for the entire world to watch. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. CPAC, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
See, that's an extremely positive, uplifting message. I don't know. When I think back to the last election, the messaging coming from Biden was very dark. He was talking about a dark winter. Then they said that he, that over 80 million people voted for him, the most in history. I don't think so. But what was the real number? 80 million. Trump, 75 million, most in history for any sitting president. And he still didn't reclaim the White House. Anyway, that's a whole other issue. His messaging during the last election was in many respects very positive. This also very, very positive. This is a great platform. He's talking about creating new opportunities for young people, jobs, homes, families, shining new cities that are futuristic, high tech, with flying cars. When I was a kid, I remember sitting in class and in elementary school, and they had us drawing pictures, of what we thought cities would look like in 2020, or rather the year 2000. And everybody was drawing pictures of flying cars and, cities in the clouds, And so I think today about what kids would think that a city of the future would look like, and maybe it would look something like that. But I don't know if kids have the same optimistic outlook on what the future will be. We're way behind, man. I thought we'd have flying cars everywhere by the year 2000. I drew pictures of it when I was a kid, but instead, we've got darkness. Trump is rekindling that inspiration, Build something that looks like that for the future, for future generations. But do it from a perspective, come at it from a foundation of freedom cities, not 15-minute cities, freedom cities. And some people are laughing at him, but they really shouldn't, because, the technology is at hand. It's already there. Flying cars, for instance, have been around since really, they've been trying to get it right since the 1960s, in my estimation. I can think of actual flying cars that were created back in the 1960s, the 1970s. I met a guy who actually owns a flying car from that era. It looks like an airplane, but with wings that fold back, and then you can drive it down the street. But that wasn't very practical. Today, because of drone technology, satellites, so that you can control the drones with triangulated geopositioning data. It makes them stable. And these drones, when scaled up, have become the flying cars of the future. And the future is now. I've been looking at some of this stuff over the last few years. And here's a company called Xpeng, and they're on the cutting edge. Here's an example of what some of the things that they're doing. This is what could be, and Donald Trump gets his way. This is an actual flying car. The Jetsons have arrived. So, it's pretty cool stuff. There are some out there that are powered by gasoline. Most of the electric, or most of the flying vehicles, vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, are electric. As you know, I'm not a big fan of electric cars per se, but I love the idea of vertical takeoff and landing vehicles that could take us into the future. I love the concept. I think it's very, very positive. So just a couple of months ago, that same company did another test flight. That little video there, it's sort of an animation, but that's an actual vehicle, and they've actually test flown that exact car, flying car. And they just did another test flight, as I say, a couple of months ago. And that was a very public thing. Here we go.
The biggest difference between the flying car developed by XPeng AeroHT and the traditional car lies in the flight. How to test flight safety performance has always been a hot topic. So today we will show you the most realistic test flight process of flying car.
今天我们有3项测试任务，分别是这个加速然后我们的一个爬升，还有一个我们的载重测试。思维大纲这边是人体这边提供的到时候建则对一下思维大纲，然后跟我们飞行机组这边去确认一下飞行任务书。现在我们就开始试验。检测完毕，飞行器良好。现在是我们的一个爬升测试。
飞行模式。
爬升状态下机器稳定，可以再高点吗？对。高度3格。
正常，正常。
好，下来了，可以。
半线再给一点，看着它的转速，然后它的转速会加起来。
可以，你可以慢慢停。
高度正常，速度正常，姿态正常，好，速度5米。到达第4航点，10米以上。到达第4航点，高度正常，速度正常。
现在加速性能还可以，基本上能达到我们的一个预期的加速指标。开始降落。
好，降落完成。现在飞行器爬升跟加速都稳定，状态正常。
整机的加速性能、爬升性能，这都是我们整机测试当中关于性能的一小部分的实验。类似的实验还有几十个大项、几百个小项，甚至上千个小项。
现在我们马上将进行这个载重测试。确认我们的载重重量是150公斤，对吧？对的。是的。好，电量76。姿态正常。开始降落。目前我们测试了150公斤的载重平稳，油门也是在我们的这个限定范围之内，非常好。
飞行汽车的测试比起我们传统航空的测试来说呢，它最大的优势就是它的智能化。我们可以通过一些在地面上的这种监控的手段和设备，严谨、有序、高效和安全地获取到我们想要的一些实验数据。我们正在做一件很具有探索精神的事情。未来我们一定会从我们的航空的领域打造出一片属于智能化、属于电动化航空的全新的世界，大家拭目以待吧。
That is not the only company working on flying car technology. A lot of the major auto manufacturers are heavily invested in it. Toyota is working on flying cars. Just last week, I received a news release from another auto manufacturer saying that they had broken a new record for distance flown for a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. So the technology is there, and Trump's vision is, without question, absolutely valid, you know? And I just, again, I think it's inspirational because it harkens back to days of past where government was really there trying to stimulate growth and encourage people to have families and build for the future. And that's what I'm hearing from Donald Trump right now. That is positive. That's what I embrace. That's what I want for my kids. That's what I want for the future. That's the kind of country I want in the future. I don't want managed decline. I want growth. I want something that's pro-human, pro-people, pro-freedom. And that is, I think, where Donald Trump is at right now with his concept for 15, not 15-minute cities, but freedom cities. He's looking at building 10 of them. Let's see what happens. I'll be back and we'll move on and talk about other things after this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So yesterday I did touch on this. I'm just going to run this again because I think it's still relevant, and I don't know if this really had any impact yesterday when I ran it or not. So I'm just going to mention it again. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is looking at taking a run at the White House. He says that he is mulling over a bid to be nominated as the Democratic choice for the 2024 presidential election, going up against Biden for that nomination, challenging the sitting president. I think it might happen. It could happen. Because I'll be very surprised if Biden actually makes it that far, given his current physical and mental condition. Anyway, here's more information on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
It's been a long time since the Kennedy name was associated with a long-shot outsider presidential campaign, but those days could be making a comeback. On Friday, Robert Kennedy Jr., speaking at St. Anselm College, was asked if he's considering a run for the White House in 2024.
I'm thinking about it. As always. I'm past the biggest hurdle, which is that my wife has green-lighted it. And
in a one-on-one interview, Kennedy told us he would not be deterred if President Joe Biden seeks a second term, and that he'd run on progressive campaign issues.
On the rigging of the system, the war against America's middle class.
But one issue puts Kennedy out of step with the Democratic Party. For years, he's been a leader in the vaccine resistance movement.
And all of these injuries that I speak about to children, there is no bigger issue for our country than that.
What would you say to someone who is skeptical about you based on your vaccine activism, that they disagree with you? They might agree with you on everything else, but they disagree with how you've handled yourself there.
Show me where I got it wrong. Let's talk about it.
If he runs, RFK Jr. also must contend with a tragic family legacy, the assassinations of his uncle and his father, who was murdered on the presidential campaign trail in 1968.
Do you have to worry about your own safety if you do launch a campaign?
I'm not worried about my safety.
One question for Kennedy, if he runs, is whether his last name still holds the political power it once did.
The Kennedy name has gusto. There's no question about that. How far does it take him? That's a different story.
In Manchester, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, today is June 1st. Please say your name and spell it. I'm God.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. potentially taking a run at the White House. So we'll see what happens with him. Just back for a moment, if we could, to something vehicle related. Another story that came across my desk just within the last couple of days was the CEO of Honda saying that even though he's pushing to position Honda for an electric vehicle future, he still thinks gasoline-powered vehicles will be around maybe right up till 2040. Let me just find my notes on that. So yeah, he says, quote, I've been in the engine development business for more than 30 years. So personally, it's a little threatening, but I have to separate my own feelings from what is best for the business. And that includes the establishment next month of a standalone business unit to oversee the development of Honda's electric vehicle battery business. Honda right now is partnering with General Motors to use GM technology and even GM products, battery products in electric vehicles. But Honda sees the need to, of course, develop its own technology in a more robust manner, and also to expand the infrastructure and the electric vehicle side of its business, which could include an investment in charging stations similar to Tesla's supercharging network. But the CEO of Honda is also saying that as they move toward an all-electric future, he thinks that gasoline-powered vehicles will still be with us until maybe even 2040. So here's an interview that he did. This is some months ago, not brand new, but the messaging is still the same. And when he did this interview, he was talking 2050. He's moved that back to 2040, but still, he's not as aggressive on the EV front and the electric battery powered vehicles that a lot of other industry people are.
Hi, I'm BJ. I work at Grip 6. Here are 5 reasons.
Just one moment. Here we go.
Maker to publicly say it would go all electric. Honda became the first Japanese automaker to publicly say it would go all electric by 2040, even though it has a long history with engines. And compared with your global rivals like Chinese automakers or Tesla, how are you positioning yourself in the global EV market?
Our ultimate goal is to achieve complete carbon neutrality by 2050. In order to hit that target, we must make our new cars all non-gasoline by 2040. Of course, we pride ourselves in our engines, but we're now focused on our new target. We're putting our resources into EV and fuel cell technologies. I do realize that US and European car makers are leading the way in the global EV and fuel cell markets, but we still have time. I think we're well positioned to compete with our rivals as we can choose the best ways to achieve our goal.
When you look at other global auto giants, do you think the Honda's goal of going all electric by 2040 is early enough?
Earlier targets were set by the EU and other countries after we set our target to be carbon neutral by 2050. We may have to reconsider our target if we have to achieve it earlier, but for now we intend to stick with our scenario for the 2050 carbon neutrality target.
So Honda has a partnership with GM to make electric cars and plans to roll out 2 new models which have GM's battery platforms in 2024. Could you give us an overview of how you plan to utilize the partnership?
We're discussing the possibility of alliances in different areas if there's any win-win situation for both parties by combining our technologies. General Motors leads in larger electric vehicles, so that's where GM takes the initiative. As for smaller EVs, Honda takes the initiative. Nothing's been decided yet, but we're now in talks with all kinds of scenarios and hope to utilize the alliance where we can benefit each other.
You've shown a pretty open attitude towards forming alliances to ride out the auto industry's once-in-a-lifetime shift to next generation cars. What kind of companies are you interested in talking to, and what kind of new alliances are you seeking to further strengthen Honda's position in the global market.
We have no specific names of companies in mind, as we still want to discuss with different companies from different areas. For example, we can create new value by automotive and entertainment coming together. We aren't in talks with companies that we can name here specifically.
Are you talking to any IT giants like Google or Apple?
We aren't in talks with companies that we can name here specifically.
They say it would go.
There have been concerns expressed from CEOs and executives from other automakers over the last year or so as well. Chrysler, Fiat, Toyota. Just concerns about the pace at which governments are pushing for the elimination of gasoline-powered vehicles. And this is all being government-driven, not market-driven. That's why it really concerns me, the way this is being done. And Donald Trump, again, I think, is hitting the nail on the head when he says that a lot of people still prefer gasoline-powered vehicles, and he would like to see people given a choice between one or the other. Again, he's speaking my language. You want to have electric cars? You go ahead and have them. But they need to be able to compete and compete on their own merit. Are they a viable alternative? If they are, people will buy them. If they aren't, they won't. And until the technology progresses to the point where it is a viable economic alternative to gasoline-powered vehicles, I think people should be given the choice, and we should not be subsidizing them to the level that we are, because it's a big distortion to the market. It's a lie, actually, to the public. When you look at the sticker price on an electric vehicle, it's not truly representative of what it costs to produce it, because the true cost is hidden, because the companies are being given gigantic grants and tax breaks at our expense as taxpayers. Whether you buy an electric car or not, you're paying for one. You're paying for them all. We're all paying for them through our taxes. Money going straight to these big auto companies, corporations, auto parts companies, manufacturing facilities. We're paying for the transformation, not the corporations. They're only picking up a fraction of the cost. We're paying for it. They're going to end up profiting. I don't subscribe to that. I don't like that. It's too much government control, too much government coercion within the marketplace, forcing something upon the people instead of letting market forces and technology and consumer demand drive where the industry and where the future is taking us. Stay with us. When we come back, I'm going to show you how persistence paid off for a Canadian lawyer who kept trying to get into Pierre Poilievre campaign events and kept getting kicked out. Don't go away.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sure many of you have seen Kareem Assad's posts. She's a lawyer, Canadian lawyer. I believe she's out of Toronto. And when I first became aware of her, I wasn't really sure what to make of her. And we ran a long time ago a video of her being arrested when she was trying to attend a conservative campaign event. I believe it was a Doug Ford event. And I don't think she's a conservative, but she's politically active, a political satirist. She is actually quite funny. And I'm beginning to appreciate her more and more. I think she's pretty cool. And she kept trying to go to Pierre Poilievre campaign events. And she kept getting kicked out. Let me just pick up here. So they kept kicking her out and kicking her out and kicking her out and kicking her out. Let me see if I can find one where she gets kicked out here. I have one where they're just... I have to scroll back because it's been... Sorry, folks. Yeah, well, anyway, she's been kicked out and kicked out, and we ran it the other night when she was kicked out. But she kept going back. So she went back, and this was in Stony Creek, and finally, persistence paid off. So let me just bring this up here. They actually let her in. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So here we go. Totally different reception this time. Some guy named Zach kept kicking her out at the other events, yeah, but not this time.
Fun, John. Welcome to Thank you. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you. Just, I'm never here to disrupt. That's never my MO. So I appreciate that. Are you with the? Yeah, no, I'm working here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So welcome to stay. I just want to say hi. Thank you. Do you mind just I know you're not here to disrupt. I know you're gonna, Can I ask what sort of led to my exclusion? I honestly don't know. Okay. I just wanted to touch base and say hello, and I'm here. If you have an issue, come to me. Thank you, John. And as long as you're here and got clean hands, and we are well behaved. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah. And that is how it should be done. Thank you very much.
I love that. Good for her. I was so disappointed when I kept seeing the videos of her being kicked out and kicked out and kicked out and kicked out. But it finally paid off. She got in. Not only did she get in, this happened. There it is. She got to meet the man himself. Now, I guess she has there have been some posts on her Twitter account where she, I guess, poked some fun at Pierre. And that is what generated concern, I guess, because I think she pokes fun at a lot of different political figures. But so what? I mean, that's just kind of what goes on, right? But yeah, I mean, she's a journalist. She's an activist. She's a lawyer. And she wanted to go to this event, and they kept kicking her out. Several events, and they kicked her out. They asked her to leave, and then she left, but she kept coming back, and she would register in advance. So she would register online, get the invitation, go through all the steps, and then show up, and then they would ask her to leave when they would see her show up. But now she met Pierre in person and even got the photo. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. There were other videos too. And in Stony Creek, there were protesters there, some of them flying diagolon flags, I noticed over the weekend, yesterday. And she got out and of a car when she arrived. And I guess she was warmly welcomed by the protesters, because every time she was kicked out of these conservative events, her profile would rise on social media. It wasn't a good look for Pierre, and I think it cost him some support, especially among people who more inclined maybe to vote PPC in Canada. So good on you, Karima, and I'd like to have her on the show at some point to do an interview, because I think she is a very strong person. And it just shows how persistence can actually pay off. Very cool stuff. What else do we have for you tonight? I wanted to run some of Vladimir Putin's speech from a few days ago. We never got to do that. So this is Putin berating the U.S. and Western allies for, in his view, starting the war in Ukraine. So let's go to Vladimir Putin's speech from just a few days ago, marking the 1-year anniversary of the start of the war in Ukraine. Oh, hang on.
Drinking.
Just give me a moment. Here we go.
As I said, the West has turned Russia not only a military and information force, but also an economic one. But it has not achieved its goals anywhere, and it will not. Moreover, those who initiated sanctions have punished themselves, caused price increases, business closures, and an energy crisis in their countries. And they will tell their own citizens, and we hear that the Russians are to blame for everything. Which means, did they use against us in this aggression of sanctions? They have tried to break economic ties with Russian companies, isolate the Russian financial system, deprive us from access to export markets in order to hit revenues. There is also the theft, there is no other way to call it, of our foreign currency reserves, attempts to undermine the ruble and provoke inflation. The anti-Russian sanctions are only a tool. The goal, as they themselves declare, is to make our citizens suffer.
Антироссийские санкции – это лишь средство, а цель, как декларируют сами западные руководители, прямая цитата – заставить страдать. Удивительно, что на Западе этого никто из власть придержащих не замечает. Ответственность за разжигание.
Responsibility for fomenting the Ukraine conflict, for its escalation, and for the increasing number of victims lies entirely with the Western elites. And of course, the current regime in Kyiv, for which Ukrainian people are essentially strangers. The Western elites do not conceal their goals, as they say. It's a direct quote to bring Russia a strategic defeat. What does it mean? What is it for us? It means to end us, once and for all. It means that they plan to turn a local conflict into a global confrontation. We understand it exactly like that. We will react to it accordingly. This is because, in this case, it is about the very existence of our country. However, they can't be aware that Russia cannot be defeated on the battlefield. So they conduct more and more aggressive information attacks against us.
Потому что в этом случае речь идет уже о существовании нашей страны. Целью выбирают прежде всего, конечно, молодых.
As the prime target, they choose, of course, younger people and our young generation. And here they lie all the time as well. They turn historical facts upside down. They don't stop attacks on our Russian culture, our Orthodox Church, other religions and organizations of the country. Look at what they are doing with their own people. They destroy the notion of family, destroy cultural and national identity, abuse of children, even pedophilia are pronounced as normal, the norm of their way of life. I'd like to say to them, look at the Holy Scripture, other holy books. It's all said there, including the fact that family is the union of a man and a woman. But even those sacred texts are being reviewed now. It's just been announced that the Anglican Church plans at this point to look into an idea of gender-neutral God. What can I say? May God forgive them, for they have not known what they do. They turned a blind eye on political assassinations, on repressions of Kiev regime against dissidents, on abuse of the faithful. They spurred neo-Nazis to commit terror acts in the Donbass. Western academies and school-trained officers of nationalist squads and supplied arms.
Что скажешь? Прости, Господи, не ведают, что творят. Закрывали глаза на политические.
I want to emphasize that even before the start of the special military operations, talks were already underway between Kyiv and the West about supplying air defense systems, fighter jets, and other heavy weaponry. We remember the Kyiv regime's struggles to get nuclear weapons. They were public about it.
Офицерский состав националистических батальонов, поставляли оружие.
US and NATO were quick to set up bases at their borders, secret biological laboratories. They used drills to get familiar with future battlefields. They prepared Kyiv regime and the whole of enslaved Ukraine for a big war. The whole time as Donbass was on fire, when the bloodshed was happening, and Russia was wholeheartedly, and I want to stress it, wholeheartedly, was longing towards peaceful resolution. They were playing with people's lives and used rigged playing cards. This awful way of deceit was tested multiple times before. They acted shamelessly and two-faced, destroying Yugoslavia, Iraq, Libya, Syria. They will never wash the shame away. Things like honor, trust, kindness is not for them. For long centuries of colonialism and dictatorship, they used to get the feeling that they can do everything.
Жизни людей играли, по сути, как говорят в известных кругах, крапленными картами.
They got used to spitting on the whole world. Turns out that they even looked down upon their own people because they deceived them as well, telling tales about being pro-peace and supportive of UN resolutions. The threat was increasing every day, and according to the information we are getting, there is no doubt left that by February 2022, everything was prepared for the next bloody action in Donbass, against which, may I remind you, the Kyiv regime was thrown into action artillery, tanks, and aircraft. We all remember very well the pictures of airstrikes against Donetsk. They started the war. We did everything to stop it. Sevastopol was next. I want to say it again. It was them who unleashed the war, and we used and are using the force to stop it. Those who planned a new attack against Donetsk, against Donbass, Luhansk, they understood very clear that the attack on Crimea and Sevastopol were their next step. And we knew it, we saw it. And now in Kiev, they talk openly about such far-reaching designs. They have opened up. They revealed what we knew very well anyway. We protect people's lives, our homeland, and the West's goal is unlimited power.
А цель Запада – безграничная власть. Сегодняшним посланием я выступаю.
I'm making this address at the time, which we all know is difficult, watershed moment of our country. a time for cardinal, irreversible changes around the world, the most important historic events that will shape the future of our country and our people, when each of us bears a colossal responsibility. Since 2014, the people of Donbass have been fighting, defending their rights to live on their land, to speak their native language. They fought and did not give up in the conditions of blockade and constant shelling, undisguised hatred on the part of the Kyiv regime. They believed and expected that Russia would come to their rescue.
Говорить на родном языке. Боролся и не сдавался в условиях блокады и постоянных обстрелов. Нескрываемой ненависти со стороны киевского режима, верил и ждал, что Россия придет на помощь. Возьмет на себя государство. Как я уже сказал, Запад развернул против нас.
As I said, the West has turned Russia not only a military and information force, but also an economic one. But it has not achieved its goals anywhere, and it will not.
И не добьется. Более того, инициаторы санкций...
Moreover, those who initiated sanctions have punished themselves, caused price increases, business closures, and an energy crisis in their countries. And they will tell their own citizens, and we hear that the Russians are to blame for everything.
Говорят, что виноваты во всем русские.
Which means, did they use against us in this aggression of sanctions? They have tried to break economic ties with Russian companies, isolate the Russian financial system, deprive us from access to export markets in order to hit revenues. There is also the theft, there is no other way to call it, of our foreign currency reserves, attempts to undermine the ruble and provoke inflation.
По-другому не сказать, наших валютных резервов.
The anti-Russian sanctions are only a tool. The goal, as they themselves declare, is to make our citizens suffer.
Повторю, антироссийские санкции – это лишь средство, а цель, как декларируют сами западные руководители, прямая цитата, заставить страдать. Удивительно, что на Западе этого никто из властьпридержащих не замечает. Ответственность за разжигание...
Responsibility for fomenting the Ukraine conflict, for its escalation, and for the increasing number of victims lies entirely with the Western elites. And of course, the current regime in Kyiv, for which Ukrainian people are essentially strangers. The Western elites do not conceal their goals, as they say. It's a direct quote to bring Russia a strategic defeat. What does it mean? What is it for us? It means to end us, once and for all. It means that they plan to turn a local conflict into a global confrontation. We understand it exactly like that. We will react to it accordingly. This is because, in this case, it is about the very existence of our country. However, they can't be aware that Russia cannot be defeated on the battlefield. So they conduct more and more aggressive information attacks against us.
Потому что в этом случае речь идет уже о существовании нашей страны. Целью выбирают прежде всего, конечно, молодых.
As the prime target, they choose, of course, younger people and our young generation. And here they lie all the time as well. They turn historical facts upside down. They don't stop attacks on our Russian culture, our Orthodox Church, other religions and organizations of the country. Look at what they are doing with their own people. They destroy the notion of family, destroy cultural and national identity, abuse of children, even pedophilia are pronounced as normal, the norm of their way of life. I'd like to say to them, look at the Holy Scripture, other holy books. It's all said there, including the fact that family is the union of a man and a woman. But even those sacred texts are being reviewed now. It's just been announced that the Anglican Church plans at this point to look into an idea of gender-neutral God. What can I say? May God forgive them, for they have not known what they do. They turned a blind eye on political assassinations, on repressions of Kyiv regime against dissidents, on abuse of the faithful. They spurred neo-Nazis to commit terror acts in the Donbass. Western academies and school-trained officers of nationalist squads and supplied.
So we're going to pull out of that. Sorry, that's on a loop, and I think I accidentally ran that twice. I do apologize for that. Stay with me. We'll come back and we'll dig into a few other things, and then we're going to go to the phones. So you can add your voice to the conversation.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Let me just pull that down for a moment. So this is a video that actually Leo sent this to me, and it's pretty funny. That's what I wanted to bring up. Here we go. Okay. Hang on. So this is from a gentleman. His name is Rich Angel. I guess he was arrested at the Windsor protest, freedom protest. And he posted this. It's actually pretty funny. Okay. Here we go. Rich Angel.
I'm not supposed to go through my disclosure with you, but they have a lot of evidence, and I think it's important that I share this.
From Windsor Police.
Let's go through this together. So this one here is a lot of the evidence they have.
Oh, that one's redacted. Oh, that one's redacted.
We'll go through these one at a time. There's a lot of information here. So here's page 3. And there's more evidence on page 4. Then they really got me on page 5. I'm probably going to go to jail for that. Here's a picture of me. Can you see me in that picture? Yeah. Here's page. Yeah. Here we go. Maybe this one. I don't know where. There's got to be evidence here somewhere. Maybe this one. This page. I don't know. There's got to be some evidence in here somewhere because they arrested me, right? They arrested me for something. So there's got to be. Okay, let me go to the next page here. Huh. A pretty good disclosure so far. A lot of ink. But we're getting there. Let's see my disclosure. Ooh, that's pretty good. This has got to be the evidence coming up now. Well, still no evidence. Nothing there. This is gonna be a long video, guys, because it's gonna take me a while to go through all this evidence that they have against me. So just bear with me. I'm gonna try to get through all the evidence in just a few minutes of time. Yeah, here's some more. I know I'm not supposed to show this, but it's pretty damaging to me. You know, luckily I spent the night in jail for all the evidence they have against me, and there you go. You got it. So I hope everybody doesn't call me out on sharing my disclosure, but this pretty much proves I'm guilty. So I might as well just turn myself in, I guess.
So Leo just says that Rich Angel is representing himself in court. Good luck if that's the disclosure they provided. It's you're going to have a hard time formulating any kind of logical defense, and I don't know how the judge is going to deal with that. Anyway, that was humorous. I have something else that's kind of funny too. This one. Remember Gary Riddell? Yeah, he's still down south in Mexico, I believe, enjoying the sun and enjoying life. I don't think anything bothers Gary. And I wanted to share this video with you because every time I watch him, he just cracks me up. I just think it's hilarious. He's so funny. He is so funny. Hang on, here we go. Here's Gary.
All right, bitches. It's fucking supper time. Got the fucking drop your panties fucking sauce. Jump. It's going to be quite the dinner. Going to the top of the fucking mountain. Of course, I fucking done my hair. Got the fucking slickum sauce on. Got her all slicked back. Yeah. Top of the mountain for the $1 million fucking view. And the fucking top shelf fucking dinner. Huh? Me, Jake, and Kirk. Check it out. I got the fucking hooker fucking racing shirt on. Fucking A, how you like me now? Huh? Ready to go. So, yeah. Pretty eventful day. Went shopping. Bought a watermelon. Got a piece of fucking carrot cake. Found some new coffee. Fuck. This stuff's got some real 4-barrel in it. So, yeah. Should be a killer night. Of course, I'll post a little video of the fucking $1 million view. Yeah. Friday night. Lapanita. Everybody have a fun night. Enjoy yourself. Fuck, you kidding me? Of course I'm going to enjoy myself. Anyway, have a fun night. Fuck, that's the real deal right there, Dad. Yeah. They'll smell me. A couple extra shots don't hurt.
That makes me think he's like 16, getting ready to go to the high school dance. Love potion number 9. Actually, a couple extra squirts can hurt a lot. I'm not sure I'd want to ride in the car with him, man. You'd get fumigated. That's funny. We'll be right back, and we'll go to the phones. You guys can join in. Stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, phone lines are set up. Here's the number to call.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Via Maverick. Join us.
Okay, we're back. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do that by donating at freedomreporters.com. That helps us cover the expenses that we have here, including the expense for the phone system, which we are just about to use. You can also donate at maverickdonations.com. If you're inclined to do that, we would certainly appreciate the support and appreciate all the support we have had. And you can also send an e-transfer to Maverick Multimedia at mail.com. That's not Gmail, it's just mail.com. And if you do send that in by e-transfer, it does go into a business account for proper accounting. And we need to have a security password assigned to each deposit. So please make sure that you do that. I suggest you use the word Maverick, or you can send a separate email with a different security password, which you assign specifically to that donation. And then we can complete the deposit into the business account properly so that it's all properly accounted for. And yeah, that's the way you can support the channel. And you can also support us by liking, sharing, subscribing on YouTube. Make sure you hit the notification bell if you do subscribe, if you're a new viewer. If you haven't subscribed over on Rumble, please consider doing that. We're getting a lot of traction over there. We've picked up a lot of new subscribers just in the last week or so, and we're now some nights getting more viewers on Rumble than we are for the very first time on YouTube, but we still have a ton of people over on Facebook as well. So that's actually very encouraging because Rumble is more of a free speech platform. Now, the phone lines are open, and you can join the conversation right now at 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. And we're ready to go to our very first caller, and it is Steve, I believe. Hello, how are you tonight? Good. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely. Oh, hang on just a second. You know what? You got to start over because you weren't on the screen. Sorry about that. I've got you up now so people can hear you. So let's start over again. Steve joins us now, and I've got my technical hat back on straight. So go ahead, Steve. Start over. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. I was just saying that you were mentioning the optimism behind Trump and his campaign that he's working on.
Yep.
And when I heard that RFK Jr. was seeking nomination for the Democratic Party, that's when I got excited because you can't really lose with those two. I mean, if it's a Democratic win, then it wouldn't be so bad, I don't think. And it would be either way. I see good things for the future. Or if it was DeSantis against RFK Jr., I'm more, and I know what we get with Trump, so I would lean towards Trump. I mean, I'm a Canadian, so it's not my decision, but Trump versus RFK Jr. would be just fantastic in my estimation.
Yeah.
However, I'd like to see Trump, and in case we have Trudeau still, because he can't stand Trudeau as far as I understand, and I think he would whip Polyev in the shape if it ended up being Polyev. But as I've mentioned, I'm behind Max. I just can't bend my principles enough even to go with Polyev.
I hear you.
Oh yeah, and I also was thinking about the electric cars.
Yeah.
We've seen what happens just over the past few years when you rush research, and I hope that they ease off some of these manufacturers and make sure that they get the kinks worked out. I mean, there's no shortage of videos about Tesla's taking off or whatever, or catching fire, which is my big fear. I would never get on an electric bus, or I don't even think I'd get in an electric Tesla, because once you have a problem, you can't even get out, from what I understand. But
yeah.
I don't know, and I don't want to get you in any heat by criticizing any particular manufacturer.
Well,
and,
I don't take money from any of them, so you go ahead and criticize all you want.
Okay. Well, personally, I will be driving gas or diesel as long as I possibly can. They'll have to pull those keys out of my hands. And I was surprised. I have a kind of a news thing that it doesn't really pertain, I was really surprised. I heard about Canada seizing Iranian foreign funds. Did you hear anything about that?
Just like recently, you mean?
It was this past week. I think it was.
I know there's something going
ago
on because of all the schoolgirls being poisoned.
So
Yeah,
well,
I'm not. I don't recall exactly what Canada's response to that has been.
it was. I don't remember where it was, but it was a mainstream news thing, and I thought I'm going to watch at 6 o'clock, see if I can catch it again or whatever. Actually, it wouldn't have been 6; I would have been watching you. But anyway, I have not heard another peep about it. But they had said, much in the same way that they seized the Russian assets, they were now doing it to Iranians. And I'm like, this is now Canadians, Russians, and Iranians. I mean, your money's not safe in Canada. Like this is bad publicity for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible.
Yeah. Well,
And,
there's
anyway.
a real arrogance there on the part of Western powers, where they're using economic strength as a weapon. We've been doing it for a long time, and I think it's a mistake.
It certainly.
You know, it's like if you don't do as we say, we'll bankrupt you, or we'll exile you economically, financially. We'll turn your country into a state of poverty, right? And it's I don't know. It's
I heard
it's arrogant.
It is for sure. I heard something funny regarding the sanctions. It was kind of a backfire on one of them, and it really cracked me up, but I can't think of what it was. It was something along those lines regarding Russia. Anyway, I shouldn't have brought it up because I can't remember. It's kind of on the tip of my tongue, but it's not. One final comment, though, if you don't mind, regarding Russia.
Yeah.
The concern that Putin seems to have about their future being completely threatened, and that, you know, Russia, that the West wants Russia extinct. It seems to be that, I want to say that rhetoric, but I don't like that word, not in this context, but I hear that coming from them, like whether it be Maria Zakharova or Lavrov, coming more and more frequent. And if they're getting, you know, really feeling that that's a potential, and that, you know, NATO's ramping up with going into wartime economies, well, that's a terrifying thought. If he feels that threatened, and, you know, the West is doing all this to back Ukraine, it just makes me really nervous. I'm probably more nervous now than I was before. But anyway, I'm sure you have a lot of callers waiting there.
Yeah, well, actually, I have this story out of the Bronx tonight, where a major fire at the Food Concourse building in the Bronx is caused severe damage. I believe there were some fatalities. I have it queued up here, and the reason I bring this up is not only because it's food oriented, it's also the result of an electric scooter catching fire. That has been pinpointed as the cause, and that's related to just what we're talking about here right now. So I'm just going to run this little story. I hope it plays smoothly. I'm not sure that it will off this this video platform it's coming from.
Good evening and welcome to News 12 The Bronx, where local matters. I'm Phil Tate. Well, developing tonight, firefighters continue to battle a 5-alarm fire in Fordham Heights. You can see some of the video from the scene right there. Well, News 12's Kate Christobeck joins us from the Grand Concourse now with more. And Kate, what's the very latest?
Well, firefighters are still here trying to put out this fire that started over 7 hours ago. I'm going to take a step aside so you can take a look at this damage. The FDNY telling us that the roof has caved in and the supermarket will need to be rebuilt. What is shocking is that this much damage was caused by a lithium-ion battery on an e-bike. Take a look at this video you see right here, taken at the back of the supermarket around 10:30 a.m. You can see how within seconds, this fire spreads throughout the room. Firefighters tell us that the battery on the bike then explodes. They say this fire spread rapidly throughout the store, even spreading into the laundromat next door. 200 firefighters and EMS workers responded to the scene. They say they thankfully prevented the fire from reaching the furniture store on the other side and getting even worse. 5 firefighters were injured, as well as 1 EMS member and 1 Con Edison worker. None of the injuries were life-threatening. City officials say this fire is a cautionary tale of what can happen when e-bikes are left indoors.
When you saw how fast this fire started and spread, it just really gives you a point of pause to see what the commissioner has been stating for some time now. We have to really adopt to the use of these batteries. We must make sure that the illegal batteries are not in the city, and then we have to educate the public.
Now, we don't know the specifics of what caused this specific e-bike to catch on fire. The FDNY tells us that this remains under investigation. They also say that they will remain out here all night as they continue to make sure this fire is completely extinguished. In Fordham Heights, Kate Christobeck, News 12.
So, yeah, it shows you that the technology is far from perfect, and those lithium batteries pack a real punch. They're a hazard. They absolutely are a hazard. Let me just see if I can get things configured here properly again. And there we go. And I'll just take that down. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're pretty concerning. I had a Samsung battery. It didn't catch fire, but it blew up. And I don't know if you remember, but 7 or 10 years ago, there was an airliner, and they were carrying small lithium batteries. I think it might have been cell phones, and they went off while they were in air, and I believe it brought down the airliner. They made a TV program about it afterwards.
Right. I remember.
They scare me personally.
Yep. I had a little button cell sitting on my kitchen table one day. I don't remember what it was for, but it was just sitting beside me while I was eating my lunch, and it exploded. And it just that little button cell, it popped and it hit the ceiling, and it scared the living daylights out of me. And I thought, wow, so much power from that little tiny button cell. So
I'm not familiar with button cells.
Well, it was a lithium ion button cell as well, right? That's what the type that it was, and it just exploded for no reason.
Is that a battery? Like a button cell is a battery itself?
Like it
has a battery in it?
Watch battery type style of thing, right? One of those little round button batteries that goes in a watch or small electronic devices. And it had so much power for something so small. I thought, imagine the power that's in a battery for an electric vehicle. A Ford F-150, you can plug that into your house and power your whole house for quite a while. That's one of the features on the new Ford F-150 pickup, right? That's a lot of electricity. Wow.
Did they put those back into production now? Didn't they stop them for a period?
The F-150s with electric?
Yeah, the whole line
of electric. I think they're back in production. I think so.
It was at least at day 7 or 8 where they were still, the production line had been fully halted on their electric F-150s. I thought it was initially the whole, like all their electric cars, but I think it was just the F-150s. And there was multiple problems. It wasn't like fires or blowing up or something. It was multiple problems, and they threw it on.
Production will restart March 13th.
Huh.
There, I just looked it up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick. Well,
appreciate the call very much.
Yeah, well, thanks again. I always appreciate getting through.
Yeah.
Have a good night, Rick.
Comments. Thanks, Steve. Okay, let's go to John next. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, that guy must smell like an old hooer. That guy in Mexico. Putting that high karate all over him, eh?
High karate.
He's funny.
You mean a gigolo?
Yeah.
He smells
Gigolo.
like a gigolo.
He's, yeah, old hooer.
Oh,
That's what any woman puts that much perfume on, I call him an old hooer. I don't like the smell of perfume. Some people don't like perfume. You're not allowed to, some places they won't let you in if you got too much perfume. Kick you out.
Okay. Yeah, I get the idea. I don't think I would have chosen that exact word, John, but okay. Okay.
Okay. Anyways, let's drop that.
A good idea. Let's just move on.
You were talking about flying cars.
Yeah.
I think we'll have flying taxis before flying Ubers. Sorry, flying
Yeah,
Ubers.
well, they have those too. Yeah, they'll have those too. Definitely.
But if you want to know what the future is going to be like, I think I found the movie for you, right down to a T.
Okay.
It's Blade Runner 2049. You seen that one? That's it takes place in LA after a nuclear fallout.
I don't know if I don't think I've seen that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean, I remember the first Blade Runner.
Harrison Ford's in it, and Blade Runner. It's
I think I did see it.
2049.
It didn't have as much of an
2049,
impact
yeah.
on me. Blade Runner 2049. I think I did see it. I'm just
looking
at some pictures.
That's the future. It's going to be flying cars, and they're going to have all those.
How about
this?
How about this, John? I'm going to run this. How about the first? This is called Airspeeder, and they're having this is like racing, air car racing.
Today is an exciting day here for everyone in the Lauda. It's the first time we're going to test flying 3 speeders together at the one time. So we've been preparing for the last few months in the factory.
So they're
doing
getting
a lot
ready.
of testing, proving out everything's working,
and
making sure that everything's safe so that we can come out here today and execute.
They've got an air car, flying car
If
racing
everything's
series.
good and we're all clear on the interference, then we'll proceed to our first flight test. We'll have the 3 speeders take off 5 meters off the ground, do a hover.
I've been following these guys for the last couple of years. So they're, taking steps to try and.
Flying 3 speeders simultaneously was essential to take a step forward towards the flying race car motorsport, because of course having several speeders flying at the same time is essential, but it's also really exciting and it makes the sport. For a Lauda, so from a technical perspective, having a successful control throughout the entire race of 3 speeders was a really big step forward to develop a speeder that's for the future.
You want to ride on one of those, John?
Nope. Don't like it. Too slow.
Too slow. Oh,
you know what I do? You know what I do like?
Yeah.
They got the plans already. It's gonna happen soon. It's a hypersonic train from here to Montreal in 1.5 hours from here to Montreal. Hypersonic train. Now that would be good, eh? Just jump in a train and you're in Montreal an hour and a half. Party, come back, same day. And you can sleep on the train. Well, I don't know. Hypersonic, that thing must be going like 800, 900 miles an hour, right? Like a plane.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah, jet. We flew to, I flew from Toronto to Newfoundland in a Lear jet in an hour and a half. Coming back, it took us a lot longer because you're going against the wind, eh? But going there, the wind just blew the hell out. An hour and a half from here to Newfoundland. Unbelievable. That's fast, man. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah.
Coming back was a little bit different, but I was on your favorite site there, WeLoveTrump.com, just a little while ago, and Bill Gates, he wants to put mRNA in our T-bones.
In our what? Our T-bones?
T-bones, yeah.
Our what?
T-bone steaks, our steaks.
Oh.
He wants to put mRNA in there.
Okay.
Like, what's wrong with these people?
They're psychopaths. No,
I think
thank
so.
you. I don't want an mRNA steak. Thank you very much.
Well, you got no choice. Then go hunt. Go buy a cow and from those what do you call those Mennonites? Buy a cow off of them.
Yeah.
Or some other farmer. You probably got a lot of good farmers around your area there,
we
Rick.
do have a lot of great
Probably got
farmers
some
around here. Yeah.
good steak around there. Eh? You buy it, you probably got great steak there.
Yep.
In that neighborhood. There's also on WeLoveTrump.com. Do you think we went to the moon?
John, I don't want to get into that tonight.
Well, okay, let's not get into it. But let me tell you something. On WeLoveTrump.com, John Kennedy, he went to the moon, right?
Not John Kennedy. You're talking about Buzz Aldrin.
Huh? No. But John Kennedy is. We don't do it because.
Oh, okay. Well, he didn't go to the moon, but yeah, he gave the speech.
Yeah, he gave the speech, but they were saying the reason why someone shot him, it was planned out because he knew it was a fake going to the moon. They didn't want to get out. This is a race between Russia and the States. Russia's technology space program was so much higher than the Americans, so they had to fake it, a moon landing. They're saying it's impossible to go to the moon because of the radiation belt around the Earth. There's two belts. First one, we can get by the first one, but the second radiation belt, it's hard. It'll probably kill you. But anyways, I don't know. That's why I asked you. But I know one thing for sure. Jupiter has 92 moons. And the wolves must have a howling time on that moon, eh?
I met Buzz Aldrin.
92 moons.
I met him.
Huh?
I met Buzz Aldrin. I did.
Did he? He never talks about the moon landing. He never doesn't do no interviews.
He spoke to me.
He did one, no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You actually met the guy?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. He was on my television show.
Well,
it was like
really? Yeah.
Boy, it's got to be almost 10 years ago now.
Actually, I sent you a video on that this morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Rick should like this one. So if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a lot of people say we never went there, but
some guy asked Buzz Aldrin
that's the guy.
Time, some guy asked him if he said that he told Buzz Aldrin that he had lied and that he accused Buzz Aldrin of lying about going to the moon. And there's video out there of Buzz Aldrin decking the guy.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yep.
Shit.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
So I will say that some of the video that's out and some of the arguments suggesting that we didn't go to the moon are quite compelling.
Yeah.
But then there are counter arguments that I've taken a look at as well. So am I inclined to think that we did go to the moon? I'm inclined to think that.
Well, like that video shows, the flag, it was moving like wind. There's no wind on the moon. Number one. Number two, if you look at the bottom of the rocket when he climbs out, there's no burn mark down there. You figure that jet rocket, you'd see a burn mark. There's no burn mark at all. No stars. Like, anyway, watch that video I sent you. It's like a half hour, but
no stars being seen in the photos, though, John. Depend on the way the camera is set for exposure. Knowing a little bit about photography, excuse me, it depends on how they set the exposure on the camera. So if a lot of the foreground is lit or the main objects are bright because they're catching sunlight, the stars are not nearly as bright. And depending on how much information is available in the way the exposure is set up, contrast, it can just leave the background black. It depends, right?
Well, if you're on the moon,
it's called dynamic range is what it's called in the photo. So if I shoot, when I'm shooting photos, because I do a lot of media work, right? So if I shoot raw, it's like a raw photo file instead of a JPEG or PNG, they're more compressed. A raw file gives you huge dynamic range, so you can pull more of the underexposed areas out and play with all of that stuff in Photoshop to bring those things out. And depending, like, I'm pretty sure back then they were probably just shooting JPEGs, or they were actually shooting on film, actually is what they were doing. So it depends on.
But you think they would shoot space from up there? You can see a nice clear, no clouds, no atmosphere.
Yeah,
you
but
that's
not the point.
Of the solar system.
It's not the point.
It never did.
It's not the point that I'm making.
Hey, my phone's got raw pictures, but I set it on JPEG.
Yeah.
Raw pictures, are they? It's the same viewer as you use on JPEG.
Well, it looks the same, but the raw file has more exposure range, more dynamic, what they call it, dynamic range. So when you take that photo and you put it into Photoshop, you can, there's like all the information is there, the image information, much wider range of exposure available to you. So you can pick out just certain areas of the photo in Photoshop, which maybe wouldn't see in a JPEG. If there are little specks of light from stars, for instance, in the night sky, but you have a very bright object in the front, you can still grab those objects in the night sky and pull that exposure up just from the background. And you can lower the exposure on the foreground if you want to. And you can even take photos that are improperly exposed at the midpoint and then fix it in Photoshop after, if you shoot raw. If you shoot JPEG, everything is compressed. It crunches everything down. It just tries to give you a finished image, and you don't have the same latitude or as much room to play in post-production afterward. That's why I always, when I'm shooting for a client, I always shoot raw. Always shoot raw plus JPEG. Raw plus JPEG.
Raw.
Yeah, it's a file format. Like JPEG.
Why didn't you just get that Google phone and use that? Because you see in that commercial on the Google phone, you can take a picture. If someone walks behind you, you can take them out of the picture with that Google phone. You know that, eh?
Yeah, well,
the
phones are fantastic today. The phones that you're using are probably as good or better. They're probably better cameras than the ones they took to the moon.
It's a commercial, Google phone commercial. Check it out.
Yeah.
You'll really, when you got time, check it out. It's if you're into that stuff, it's pretty amazing technology, the Google phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it I was just thinking, I don't think my phone can do it, but
yeah.
Anyway,
we're going to move on, John, because I've got other callers here. So
okay, nice.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Okay,
have a great night, my friend. Okay, and we're moving on. I think this is another John. Hello. Is it John or is it?
You're nice.
Ah, how are you?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm okay.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. Ford, they have this great idea, but it's never going to work. The whole tow trucking industry, like, it doesn't affect me because there's no money in repoing a Ford. To be honest, I don't go that low. But there's no way they can do it for liability purposes. For one thing, you can't fall asleep in a Tesla and let it self-drive you anymore. You get a ticket for it because of liability and insurance reasons. So there has to be an able-bodied person in control of a vehicle. It can't just drive itself because it could cause public damage and kill people because, computers aren't perfect. So it's never going to happen. I love all these little stupid things all these companies come out with. Oh, we're going to do this. No, you're not. Just like, oh, we're going to get rid of the combustion engine. No, you're not. That's never going to happen. You guys are kidding yourselves with all this stupidity. That was one of my points. And John, the Van Allen radiation belt is the one you're talking about. Yeah, you can't get past that or you'll fry. And nobody went to the moon because analog, that's what we used to have as radio waves before digital. And you can't pass through the Van Allen radiation belt with analog. And you can't even pass through it with digital because it's radiation. It mixes everything up.
Well, I still think there's there's an easy way to prove it one way or the other. Can't we just look at the surface of the moon with a giant telescope and see if the lunar lander is still there?
This is my next point. I do have a telescope, and I do look out all the time. And you know what's really funny?
Mm-hmm.
I've never once seen a satellite through my telescope. Never once. And I filmed it for 12 hours one time. And I look back at the whole feed. Never once did I see a satellite. That was weird. That was another thing that really kind of weirded me out. And John, in Dubai, they already have flying taxis, man. They've had them for 2 years now. Anyways, that's
but if we don't,
Maverick.
are you saying we don't have satellites? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know what's going on, dude, but I've been looking at it for about 2 months now because a friend of mine in the States, he just showed me this guy that does a live feed through his telescope at night. And I started watching that and I was like, wait a minute, he's right. I've never seen a satellite on this. So I put mine out and I put it out in the yard and I started recording it with one of my old phones. And I went back and I looked and I was like, dang, I never seen one satellite. And the only thing I've ever seen in the sky, and you have to be outside the city to see it, is Elon Musk's Starlink train. That's the only thing I've seen in the sky.
Yeah. Well,
It's
years ago, I had a giant satellite dish in my backyard, and I would turn it, and I would tune in the satellites with it, but it would have to move.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we had 4 different positions we could change it to.
Well, it was all, I had to program them.
Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, and then there was other ones.
Yeah, all on the C-band.
Yeah. But I just find it very weird that I've been doing this for 2 months. I've never seen a satellite through the telescope, ever. It's just so weird. I don't know. It was just something I thought to look at because what I was trying to look for was the tire marks and the flag on the moon. And there's nothing. I've been looking, and everybody else has been looking. There's a whole YouTube group that actually looks to prove it wrong, and no one found the flag or the tire marks or anything yet. And anyways, Stanley Kubrick already admitted that he filmed it in the Nevada desert before he died. He directed it. Because if you think about it, how was a camera on the ground before that thing landed? How was a camera on the ground watching it land?
I don't remember. There are explanations for all these things, although some of it is a little bit difficult to buy into.
I don't know. I just think of these things, and I think, I don't know, because they lie to us about everything. So then the truth finally comes out, and you can't get past the Van Allen radiation belt. That's been proven repeatedly. It was the Russians that first did it with monkeys or dogs or something like that a long time ago. Yeah, I think it was the Russians that proved it, that you can't get past that because you'll fry. But people seem to forget what happened like in late 60s, early 70s. It's in history books, but people don't go to libraries anymore. Everybody uses Google or Bing or Brave. You know, it's always nice once in a while to go get a book and actually look at it on paper in black and white, the truth.
Yeah, I've seen I've watched other videos and read other material that debunk the claims that we didn't go to the moon. They have explanations for everything as well. So I guess you have to watch it and come up with your own decision on whether we did or we didn't.
Well, there's another thing too. If you go watch the footage, okay, because there's supposed to be no, like, very limited gravity on the moon, right? That's what they say. Very limited gravity. You know, they got 300-pound suits and they're bopping around, like, you know, they're on. Well, they were on strings, but if you notice when they get in the dune buggy and they're driving the dune buggy around, how come those little granules of sand don't float off? Because they're very light, right? They just fall right back to the ground. I always thought that was kind of weird. But, you know, physics. I guess you can bend the law of physics when you're in Hollywood, I guess. I don't know.
Well, there is gravity. It's just not as much. And there's also no atmosphere.
Minimal, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So wouldn't those little granules of sand float up longer in the air than a man in a 300-pound suit?
Well, there is no air. So I don't know. I'm trying to imagine
really weird.
What would dust or dirt do when it's kicked up in a no atmosphere environment with limited gravity. Would it be more likely to fall back to the surface, or would it remain suspended for a longer
Well, logic
period of
dictates
time?
if the dude's in a 300-pound suit, and let's say he's 200 pounds, that's 500 pounds, right? He's jumping up and down and floating as he walks, right? So wouldn't a granule of sand float longer in the air than
No.
500 pounds?
Physics dictates that the weight doesn't matter. It's like what would drop faster, like even
bowling
on
ball and the feather thing.
Things fall at equal rates, right? Things don't fall.
Feathers do not fall as fast as a bowling ball.
No, but that's because there's friction in the air.
That's because the feather's lighter.
No, it's because the feather catches the air. There's friction. But on the moon, and they've done this experiment, is the feather will fall at the exact same rate as the hammer because there is no atmosphere.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's zero atmosphere. Okay, how can we prove that? Because we haven't been to the moon.
I believe they actually demonstrated that on the moon. I don't know if I can find the video for you. Maybe I can. I think they demonstrated that.
I don't know. These are the things I've been thinking about, like, because analog and digital. Analog doesn't go very far, and it's not always perfect, as I know, because I had a cell phone in 1991 and it wasn't a brick or a suitcase. It was a really big, long thing. It came from, like, Cantel. Do you remember Cantel?
Okay, here we go. I've got the hammer and feather on the surface of the moon. Just for you.
Oh.
Here we go.
Really?
Really, I've got it.
It's Stanley.
I know you're just going to say it's Stanley Kubrick. Okay, whatever. Well, let's watch and you can decide.
Well, in my left hand, I have a feather. In my right hand, a hammer. And I guess one of the reasons we got here today was because of a gentleman named Galileo a long time ago, who made a rather significant discovery about falling objects in gravity fields. And we thought that where would be a better place to confirm his findings than on the moon. And so we thought we'd try it here for you. The feather happens to be appropriately a falcon feather for our falcon. And I'll drop the two of them here, and hopefully they'll hit the ground at the same time. How about that?
Ta-da!
That proves that Mr. Galileo was correct in his findings.
Okay, so rebut that.
No problem. They did a lot of crazy stuff in vaudeville too that people believed, right?
Okay.
You know, cutting a person in half. Come on, man. It's all smoke and mirrors, dude.
Uh-huh.
I'm not buying that, man. I'm so not buying that. Dude. Look at that lunar lander. Are you kidding me? How did they get the car in there? Look how small that thing is. Where did the car come from? Did they have to build it like IKEA furniture when they landed, or what? Like, no, come on. None of this makes sense, dude. Anyways, Maverick, it was fun. Be safe.
Right.
Smile and take care of each other.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Have a good one. Okay, who's up next here? I think it might be
You
the man.
got the ultimate selfie man without a plan to master all disasters, Rick, coming to you. Let me tell you something about the moon. I don't think it happened, and the reason why I don't think it happened, because they haven't been back, and if they did make it there would be a U.S. missile defense system on the moon, and it would have been there a long time ago. That's my 2 cents on the moon. Back to Jay, Robert. It's Bobby's kid running, right?
Yep. Yes.
So it's Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay. The sad thing about that is the Kennedys are magnets for people on grassy knolls and things that fire at high projectiles. I don't want to get you banned off your show tonight, right? But the Kennedys have been magnets for that, and I don't think you'll last. I don't think you'll make it, anyways. But as for Trump, well, if he gets DeSantis in his corner as the vice president, that says a lot right there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a go.
Yeah.
That's a go right to the moon.
Well, they better stop fighting because it's not good all the way around.
I'll tell you the way it'll work is if Trump gets in with DeSantis behind him, Trump's 74 years old himself.
I'm not sure.
He's up there, right?
Getting up there, yeah.
Yeah. So he's up there too. He's not going to be running again. So it would be DeSantis' chance to become the president of the United States of America after 4 years, right?
Oh yes.
So it's a win-win for DeSantis, and he's a smart guy. He's young, okay. He's articulate, and look what he's done for Florida. It kind of reminds me of what's her face there in Alberta. What's her face?
Danielle Smith.
We always talk about her.
Danielle Smith.
Yeah, Danielle Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he reminds me of Danielle Smith. It is what it is, right? So the political landscape. So it's going to be a very short call, but I did have a great Sunday. The weather changed here. It went from blizzard in 48 hours ago to a blizzard. You were in it too, Rick.
Yep.
To barbecue and steaks today.
Yeah, I mean it was beautiful.
In shorts
today.
and t-shirt.
Absolutely beautiful out there today. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you're down in our neck of the woods, it changed from nasty, very nasty on Friday night to, like I said, steaks in t-shirts and shorts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In 48 hours. That's wild.
Yeah. Maybe you could
anybody's out there watching tonight, take a look at a movie I recommended for Rick. It's called World News. What's it called?
News of the World. I watched it last night.
News of the World. And Tom Hanks stars, and it's out on Netflix. And it's about, I'll just give you a little bit. It's about, if you haven't watched it, it's about a guy who goes around on horseback reading the news from town to town in the 1800s, cowboy days. And it's where it all begun for journalism, right? There'd be no Fox News or any of it if it wasn't for guys like this, because literacy back then was what maybe 1 out of 100 knew how to read.
Yeah, very low literacy rates. Different time for sure.
Right, and it was a business. It was the start of the business, of the news business, more or less. Not writing it, but corresponding it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, I like that movie, actually.
I thought it was.
So, Johnny, if you're out there tonight.
It was excellent.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
I thought it was great.
It was a great movie. Yeah, great movie.
You know what? And I almost passed it up because Tom Hanks, cowboy, I can't see it right. So, he's not Clint Eastwood or any of that shit, right? That type of actor.
Yep.
but he played the role pretty damn good, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a more real. It's sort of a Western, but not so much a Western. It was more of a history film, pioneering journalism. It was sort of he was a modern day, or he was a precursor, if you will, to exactly what we're doing here tonight. Exploring the news of the day, right? He would.
And when I watched it, I watched it, Rick. It reminded me of you, and that's why I reached out to you. So you got to check this out. So I watched it, and I was like, "Wow!" But there's another one on Netflix, folks. You got to watch it. Just come out today, and it's Chris Rock. Okay, and he opens it up about the woke society, how all these people are the woke society, and they're tweeting on their cell phones that are made by some slave labor in India. Okay, you got to watch it. You'll laugh your ass off. That's Chris Rock. It just come out today on Netflix. But thanks, Rick. Yeah. Thanks for watching that movie. I thought it was a great movie. You know what? Don't turn it up. Turn it on. Watch it, folks.
Yeah, thank you for suggesting it. I hadn't really paid much attention to it, but I'm glad you focused me on that because I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, truly did.
And you know what? I thought you would, just to get away from what you're doing and sit down with your wife and watch a movie, take a break.
Yeah.
Right?
It was nice to get my head out of the metaverse, that's for sure. And all the negative, dark stuff.
Thank you, Rick.
Out there. But thank you, Leo. You have a great night. Yeah, and Leo is absolutely right. It has been pretty mixed up, unsettled weather. And I'm going to show you this week, too, what we had here. For those of you who are not from this area, it was a pretty crazy week. Let me just pull this up and I'll show you what I mean. Something very unusual happened. Pull that down, pull that over, pull that down. And I'm going to show you, we had snow thunder here. Snow thunder, if you can believe it. Hang on. A lot of tabs open. That's where we need to be. Snow thunder. Anybody ever see snow thunder before? Crazy stuff. Here's snow thunder. Snowing with thunder and lightning. Because the day started out that day. This is what, 2 days ago, right? Yeah. And you may remember that I was sitting here on the air and I looked up and I said, wow, it's like thunder and lightning out there, but it was snowing at the same time. Earlier in the day, we got rain, then we got snow, then we got freezing rain, another ice storm, and a huge amount of slush. There was probably 1.5 inches of slush. When I took my dog for a walk that night, my feet got soaked because it was so deep with the slush that accumulated everywhere. There was no escaping it. And this snow thunder happened, and that was very, very weird. It kind of disturbed some people, made people a little worried in a way. It's not entirely unusual. I have seen it before. I'm sure many of you probably have as well, but it's not something that happens very often. Here's another video of it. Here you go. Hang on, let me get some audio up. There you go. There it is again. Snow thunder, and there was lightning. And look at that. A little bit of everything. And then by morning, where I live, it was beautiful the next day. And And all the snow and all the slush and all the ice just melted away by mid-morning and drained off. And it was like spring. And today, it was another gorgeous, 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 beautiful day. Warm and sunny and just an absolute delight to be outside. Just loved today. Just loved it. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up early tonight, Sunday evening. This is March the 5th, 2023. And it's been a privilege to spend this time with you. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there and spending your time with me and with everyone else in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow night, same channel, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Now, Lori was supposed to join us tonight with that story about Antony Blinken, but she still had some more work to do on it. So I think she'll probably be along tomorrow evening. And we will probably also have an update on that relief effort that is taking aid to the people in need in East Palestine, Ohio, site of that polyvinyl chloride spill as a result of that train derailment. So we'll bring you up to date on that tomorrow. Get Lori in here, share that very important story about Antony Blinken and the Nord Stream pipeline and how that relates to some stuff that happened in the past. So that's going to be very interesting. You're not going to want to miss it. So please join us again here on the Maverick News Channel tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm Rick Walker. Catch you tomorrow on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.